This PowerPoint presentation is based on the communication theory. There is 4 of us part of this PowerPoint presentation. There's Sam Baldwin, Aidan Butler, Kyan Francis, and myself, Jack Levy. Our PowerPoint presentation is to help a sitting down volleyball team become better at communicating. Firstly, I'll explain the communication theory. Kyan will then illustrate the theory based on our own practical experiences. Aidan will then discuss one relevant research article related to the communication theory. And finally, Sam will give 3 recommendations on how to become an effective sitting volleyball team, and then we'll finish off with a brief conclusion summarising our presentation for you. The communication theory is a series of independent exchanges among individuals or groups that involve the exchange of valued commodities. People aim towards receiving more resources than what they give away. However, it is assumed that individuals recognise that in the long term, giving back is the best interest of all. There is 4 factors of effective communication. These factors are acceptance, distinctiveness, positive conflict, and negative conflict. Starting off with acceptance. Acceptance is accepting each other's point of view, appreciating what the other individual has to say. It tends to be verbal exchange and usually positive. Secondly, distinctiveness is the uniqueness of your team. What I mean by this is that your team could have nicknames for certain individuals within the team, which no other team has. So this is verbal communication. However, using handshakes or hand gestures like a fist bump is another form of non-verbal communication. Next is positive conflict. This is when individuals confer within their team and express their feelings to one another in a constructive manner, allowing to get all issues out in the open so that the team can eventually communicate better. This can be non-verbal and this can be verbal and non-verbal. Lastly, from me is negative conflict. This is when participants within the team have emotional, personal, and confrontational problems. For example, when they're upset, they can verbally shout at their teammate or non-verbally show angry body language, which will lead on to poor team functionality. Kyan will now carry on from me, illustrating the theory based upon his own personal experiences in our sitting volleyball team.
As discussed previously, effective communication within a team comes under 4 factors: distinctiveness, acceptance, positive conflict, and negative conflict. Majority of these factors were experienced when taking part in this team. Firstly, acceptance was experienced within the team when discussing team roles. Each team member's point of view was taken into consideration when deciding these roles so that we were all comfortable and able to excel in these. Furthermore, there was an element of trust we instilled in each other, as due to our limited team numbers, more reliance and responsibility was put on the team. It was put on each team member, which required a level of trust. This displays one of the effective constructs of communications in sports, also positively influence team functioning. Secondly, distinctiveness was experienced within the team through our team meetings, training sessions, and games. Non-verbal distinctiveness, example fist bumps, would be exchanged when one team member scores a point or a drill is successfully completed within our team training. Although there was little verbal exchanges, example nicknames, this did not impact our distinctiveness, as we were able to have uniqueness within our team identity while still able to maintain smooth team functioning. Thirdly, positive conflict was displayed within our team, particularly during intense game situations. Any problems that arose within the game would not result in arguing on the court, but would be discussed after the game and resolved there and then, coming to some sort of compromise or conclusion. This was a key theme for any conflict within our team, showing effective communication and preventing disruption of team functioning. Finally, negative conflict was rarely shown. Very minor incidents occurred, for example, shouting when upset because a team member was frustrated about the loss of a point. This had slight negative effects on team functioning, but overall, these situations were generally dismissed and not taken any further. I will now pass over to Aidan, who will discuss the research paper relevant to this theory.
The relevant research article that I will be describing is McLaren and Spink 2018. This research had 5 main aims. Firstly, they aimed to test whether acceptance and positive conflict could be associated with both task and social cohesion. Secondly, they aimed to test whether the distinctiveness could be associated with social cohesion. Thirdly, they investigated whether negative conflict could be associated with task cohesion. Fourthly, whether there is a positive relationship between positive conflict and cohesion. And finally, whether there is a negative relationship between negative conflict and cohesion. To conduct their research, McLaren and Spink in 2018 used 139 elite youth soccer players aged between 13 and 17, with the mean age being 14.7 and standard deviation of 1.7 years. 54% of the sample population were women, and they were all from 13 different regional teams. McLaren and Spink use a cross-sectional design whereby they ask participants to complete a questionnaire halfway through a 4-month season. As the participants were under 18, consent was gathered from both the participant and the participant's parents. The questionnaire was based on 4 aspects of communication previously discussed by Kyan and Jack. These are acceptance, distinctiveness, positive conflict, and negative conflict. A 7-point Likert scale was used to assess the participants' perceptions of their 4 key aspects. The results of this questionnaire showed that participants' perceptions of acceptance on average was 5.35 plus minus 0.92, distinctiveness was 4.05 plus minus 1.49, positive conflict was 4.51 plus minus 1.07, and negative conflict was 3.16 plus minus 1.28. There is a strong positive correlation between high levels of acceptance and positive conflict, which led to good task cohesion. So McLaren and Spink concluded that acceptance and distinctiveness were significant positive predictors of task cohesion. Also, low levels of negative conflict were found to be significant in negatively predicting task cohesion. Due to these results, McLaren and Spink concluded that more work is needed to be conducted in this research area to add to the robustness of the communication theory. Furthermore, they concluded that if more work was conducted, then coaches could use this information to tailor their energy and to how specific types of communication could come to differentially relate to perceived cohesion. The results that McLaren and Spink found support the communication theory. A limitation of this study is that only soccer is investigated in this study. It may be that culture around soccer accounts for these results, and so a different team sport, such as rugby, may not produce the same results. I will now pass over to Sam, who will give our recommendations to a sitting volleyball team and conclude our presentation.
The first recommendation I recommend is using a revised scale for effective communication in sports teams. It allows you to see where any problems may arise within your team's communication, or it would let you see what areas of communication you are strong in. McLaren and Spink use a revised scale for effective communication in sports teams. It allows players to express how well they think the players within their teams communicate with each other. It is a good way for the coach to see how much acceptance, distinctiveness, positive conflict, and negative conflict the players think there is within the team. It is good to have positive conflict within a team, as there is a positive correlation between positive conflict and a team's performance. I would also recommend that within the team you have a good way to communicate with each other, like a group chat or having nicknames for each other. If you have nicknames for each other, that shows good distinctiveness and positive conflict within the team. McLaren and Spinks said that the strongest relationship for social cohesion was positive conflict. So while you build as a team, you also want to build on a personal level. This is important to develop a better relationship within your team. If you wanted to build your team's communication with each other, then you can have them do a verbal team building exercises. These can be any from a basic icebreaker exercise to getting them to line up in order of youngest to oldest while blindfolded. The purpose of activities like these is to get the players to communicate sensibly and efficiently with each other, even when they can't see. Doing team building exercises while they can't see is a good way to build on team interpersonal communication skills, as they have to be clear and precise with what they say so that the receptor can clearly understand them without confusion. To conclude, based on what we did, we learned that acceptance, distinctiveness, positive conflict, and negative conflict are all important within our team. We learned that the way we display these factors affects how efficiently we communicate with each other. McLaren and Spink also provided evidence that the team's higher perceptions with those factors typically allowed them to perform better. Both us and McLaren and Spink use a revised scale for effective communication in sports teams, as it is an effective way to show how well the team thinks their own team communicates. That is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening. Here's the references.